right. All right, well, welcome to our UAS Collegiate Training Initiative meeting. It's been a little while since we met. There are reasons for that, in addition to holidays and such, which, you know, are always kind of throws us off. When we last met, we asked you to participate in a scavenger hunt, if you recall, to get to exploring the CTI repository, and our winner was Bridget Lott from Austin Community College. So way to go, Bridget. I don't know if she's on. Also, we had a few FAA grant recipients and could not be more pleased because each are related to drone related training. So recipients that are UAS CTI schools were Florida State College at Jacksonville, Northwestern Michigan College, Elizabeth City State University, and University of North Dakota. And just to share a little, these grant recipients actually fell in the Aircraft Pilots Program, which supports proposals that generate interest and prepare students to become aircraft pilots, aerospace engineers, or UAS operators. The types of organizations eligible for these grants was not limited to traditional educational institutions, which was pretty cool. Air carriers, labor organizations representing aircraft pilots, your flight schools, even state and local government entities had that opportunity to apply. The other program was aviation maintenance and technical workers, and that's that supports proposals that generate an increased interest and prepare students to pursue aviation maintenance careers. These types of organizations, or the types of organizations that were eligible, similar to the other, were broader than just traditional education institutions. So you've had a little competition on that one, but I will tell you there's good news, because I know that some of you applied that did not get the grant. But both programs were appropriated funds in FY20 and FY21. So there were $5 million for each grant program each year, totaling $20 million. And we hope to be hearing from that second amount of money going out. And once we know that, we will link, I'll send you, via email information about that. I had sent one out earlier to share who those recipients were. And then it also had opportunity for you to meet with those that have the grants to, talk about maybe why you did not get the grant, did not receive the grant. And I hope some of you took advantage of that. And Zach, if you move it to the next slide. So Exponential and UAS Symposium are happening the last week in April. If you are attending, please send me a message and include your cell phone information if you'd like to be included in a dinner gathering. It would be on your own dime, but I will send you the restaurant information, and we really hope to get to finally meet some of you face to face. And I bring this up on the agenda because Alina and I will be there. I know Zach will be there as well, and a few others. So please send a message if you're going to be at Exponential. It's in Orlando the last week in April. And that is happening. So today's agenda, we've got a great lineup. We've got information to share. Again, the reason why we kind of delayed meeting. And we're going to begin first up with our own Alina George. Alina works with me in the UAS integration office. And she in outreach and engagement, and she also is co-administrator for the CTI program. And we truly are successful because of Alina's contributions. I really could not do what I do without her. Alina, as I said, will be at both at the Exponential and should be there for a symposium as well. I'm not sure quite what the lineup is there. We're planning to have a booth, but I'm sure she's as excited as I am. And now she's going to tell you a little bit about the new concept that's replacing, or should I say maybe revamping, Drone Safety Awareness Week. So Zach, if you'll advance to the next slide, Alina, take it away.
I need to unmute. Okay, so we have gotten a lot of feedback from folks about Drone Safety Awareness Week, about what they need from the FAA, and what we want to do is, we've received that information, we have listened, and we are going to take action. So the first piece of feedback really that we got about Drone Safety Awareness Week was that it was a week, which is a long time. Each day was separately themed so that if you were only available to do an event on Friday, but your event on Friday was relevant to the theme of Tuesday, then it got confusing. And we didn't want that. And also a really important piece of feedback that we received is that Drone Safety Awareness Week was 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And this does not work for a lot of school-age children and also for many adults. So with all of that in mind, we are changing things up, a new evolution of our outreach this year. So let me bring it back just a little bit. The outreach and engagement team here at the FAA, specifically with drones, we are super excited about this year. We want to come out, and we are planning on coming out to you, to the people. Communication is really a two-way street here, and we've heard a lot from you. We want to come out to you and make sure that you know that we actually are going to be there. So we have 5 overarching themes for this year and for the next couple of years. Equity, environment, and economics are the 3 first ones. These themes align with our current Secretary of Transportation as well as the current administration. The following 2 are really important to the FAA. Education, being education about drones and about drone safety, as well as using drones for education, and emergencies. I know emergencies is a little kind of shoehorned it in there, but it does encompass all public safety. So again, our themes are equity, environment, and economics, emergencies, and education. And we are going to be talking about these themes, hosting events about these themes in 2 very particular ways. First is going to be Drone Safety Day. So like I said, took a lot of your feedback into under advisement. So we'll get to that in just a second. And we are going to be doing in-person events this year. If you could move to the next slide, please. All right, so let's talk about Drone Safety Day. Like I said, this is the next evolution of Drone Safety Awareness Week. We've condensed everything to 1 day. We are really looking for participation grassroots style. So you will be receiving emails from us about how you can participate. And we are really, because this is going to be quite a bit far out, we've got a lot of lead time. We want you to start thinking about what you can start doing for Drone Safety Day. We are going to encourage in-person events, virtual events, hybrid events, activities, whatever you want, really. This day is about you and not about us. We are here to coordinate and give you a framework, but really we want you to own it. If you could go to the next slide, please. All right, so we've got some important information here for you. Saturday, June 18th, 2022. That is the date. Put it in your calendars, write it down. This is Drone Safety Day. Like I said, we got a lot of feedback that, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday just does not work for a lot of people, both attendees and event hosts. So we took that under, we considered it. We are now having this event on a Saturday where everybody can actually come out and play. The website is currently not live. It's not live just yet, but as soon as it is, we will send you that link and you will be able to submit your event. So we're keeping track of all of the events. You can submit it there. You can also search for events through the website. And our host this year is NCAT. So that is the National Center for Autonomous Technologies. I know that Zach Nicklin is here, and actually he's running my slides. So we're really, really thrilled to be working with them this year. They've obviously done a great job with the UAS CTI repository. So we're 100% sure that they're going to do a great job with Drone Safety Day. You've got a couple of different event types, like I mentioned, in-person or virtual, hybrid activities that you can do at home, for example. So those are all things that you can submit. There, of course, the 5 themes are going to focus areas, not themes, are where you can put your events. Whether they are, you're talking about economics or education, STEM, use of drones for public safety, for the environment, for equity. You know, it's another really, really big one, and it's super important. And of course, if your event doesn't fit in, you can put it under other, if it doesn't fit into one of those particular focused areas. So if you have any questions about Drone Safety Day, please email me, and I'll go ahead and put my email in the chat in just a second. If you've got any questions, and if you have any questions that are technical or more website focused, go ahead and contact NCAT. Other things that we are going to be sending out, we are going to be sending out a guidebook with event suggestions, best practices, how to, start thinking of an event and putting that together. And we are going to be sending out a social media toolkit. This is going to have posts that you can literally copy and paste into your Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever it is that you use. So we want to make it really easy for you to go ahead and participate. But now is really the time to start thinking about and planning topics, events, any other activities that you want to do. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is super, super exciting. As I mentioned, we are going to be coming out and doing live events. So what we are doing, we are calling it Droning On Regional Edition, and our first one is actually going to be Central Edition. Here is the overall framework. We are going to go to all 9 FAA regions, and we are going to have an event. It is right now 3 days. The first day is going to be for students. The second day is going to be about careers. And the third day is going to be about friends and family. You may be asking yourself, how is this going to work? We are working with you all, the UAS CTI schools, and we hope that there will be schools that are willing to host us. We want to have all 3 dates on one location. So there's not a lot of driving that's involved except getting to and from that single location for each day. The first day, we're going to have universities that are nearby to whatever location we will be at to come in and talk about what projects they're doing with UAS, with drones, as well as what their programs are like. Friday, again, we're going to be talking about careers. So public safety is going to come and present or do training. Same with local government, small businesses. We'll come and talk about what they're doing with drones. And Saturday, we are imagining a drone fair. So think like corn dogs, food carts, and also drone racing demos or drone simulators, things that will get people excited about flying drones recreationally as well as for careers. Next slide, please. All right, so this is really got some important information about this, about the regional editions. We are going to visit all 9 of the regions. Right now, we are planning on doing 3 the rest of the fiscal year, mostly because these are going to be huge events, takes a lot of planning. And then we intend that these regional events will go through the end of the year and through next year as well. And however many other years folks still want us to come out. We are going to be talking about different topics, things like STEM, public safety, local governments. You saw all of that already. And I want to share with you that we are really excited. We've got our first regional date. We are going to be going to the Central region, and our location is going to be Omaha, Nebraska. So this is going to take place May 12th through the 14th this year, this summer. Spring? I guess it's still spring. So what we are looking for from you all is, if you want to come to the event, please come. We are going to be sending out emails for participation. And again, you can come in whatever kind of capacity you can. We would love that. Next slide, please. We need your help. If you can participate, please do in either of these events, or ideally both of them. Amplify our safety message, which I know you all are already doing. And I want you to know how much we appreciate that. And we would love any of your suggestions on speakers or companies or organizations that we should be reaching out to, either for Drone Safety Day or droning on the regional events. You can, of course, reach out to them yourself. You can send them my way. Either one of those is totally acceptable. And Diana, I don't know if you're taking, you want me to take questions now, or if you want to save them for the end.
I would actually like for you, if anyone has questions, but I do want to let you all know that what we did, we created folders that we've shared with these regional administrators, and the 9 engagement regions, if you're curious what they are, you can actually find them on the FAA site. Just type in Google FAA regional engagement regions. But we broke apart like what schools are in that region. We provided them with your contact information, email. We also listed the drone pros in each region. We listed the Assure schools. I know some of you are both, the CTI school and an Assure school. So that gave them a beginning point. And so they may be reaching out to you. That's, like Alina said, think about if you might like to host. They may be reaching out to you, or if you have a means to get to them, and we can do that. We can very much say, hey, this school would like to host, and we'll send that information on to that regional administrator. But it's their decision, not ours. Of course, Alina and I would like to go to like Hawaii when we hit Western Pacific region. But saying that, that whole, there's a lot of CTI schools up and down the California coastline. So
I actually, thank you, Diana.
Yeah.
I just want to expand a little bit on what you said. So we in AUS 410, so this is the outreach and engagement team, we're really supporting the regions here for these events. We could just go in and be like, all right, here's your regional office, and this is where the event is going to be, and X, Y, and Z, and check off all of those boxes. But, and we are not the ones who are there on a day-to-day basis. And honestly, I personally don't know a whole lot about each region or each state. So the first region, for example, that we're going to is the Central region. There are 4 states that are part of it. And the regional office is in Kansas City. However, the regional administrator decided that we should go to an area that doesn't get as much traffic. And this is for a variety of reasons, but think of the equity here. We want to make sure that everybody has access to these kinds of events, to aviation and to drones. So we are recommending to the regions that they think about areas and locations that do not get the same kind of aviation traffic. I know sometimes, we might not have as many things around as we would in other locations, but this is about the people. And so as we want to make sure that we are reaching out to more people, to historically excluded communities in aviation, that we are actually there and reaching out to them, not expecting them to come to us. We have to meet people where they are. So with that all in mind, each of these regional events, they're going to be different. We are really leaving it up to the regions to decide locations and dates. And I know we've got that really great framework, but even that might change a little bit. So what we wanted to do today was really just let you know that this is going to be happening in your region. And just get you prepared. Do you want to come up, for example, if you are in Iowa and there is an event that's going to be happening in Minnesota, like, are you close enough? Do you feel like you could travel? Think about that. So we're really, really excited about it. I put my email in the chat. If you've got more questions or thoughts, or even just want to volunteer to host things, we can connect you with the regional administrators and get that conversation started. So
Alina, you had a couple of posted, we'd be happy to host, we'd like to host, and we will send your information to those regions.
yes.
Nathan Metzler, though, asks, is there a schedule and location for each regional workshop? And we don't have that information yet, but once we have it, we will absolutely push it out.
Yeah. And you're not the first person who has asked for this. I actually just came off of another meeting where they did ask the same thing. They would like a schedule so that they can start planning. We don't have one yet, but we are going to put one together. We are working region by region to make sure that we get dates and locations just settled for all of them as soon as we can, so that we do have a proper schedule.
And I will say that, especially we like to have things planned out, and we did propose a schedule, and that was like everybody within this, very short time frame, and what we were looking at, like weather and that type of thing, where you would be. But our management said, hey, let's start with 3 or 4, like Alina said, this fiscal year. We maybe could do another beginning of next fiscal year and into spring. So that we did have a schedule that was not firm, but to share with the regions, this is what we're thinking. And that's why we stepped back, and we're just doing a few to start out.
Yeah, we want to make sure that these events are good and that they are necessary, right? We don't want to go into a region and just take over. So like I said, we are customizing each of these events to the region itself. And what was there was a thought that was leading me somewhere and I don't remember what it was.
You've been in meetings all day. Maybe that's part of the reason.
that might be, it could be. But again, if you've got questions or want to volunteer, please just let us know, and we will connect you with your regional administrator. So,
and who is TJD? I don't know by just the chat message about hosting in Denver. I know we have the one school in Denver.
We will be saving this chat, so if y'all want to put your emails in, please do.
Yes. Oh, yes. Thank you. MSU Denver. That's who I thought, but just to clarify. Yeah. And going back to the events, any events coming up too, let us know if you'd like to be, you can put it in the chat, not just send an email.
And I said this at my last meeting as well. And I just want to reiterate here that we FAA folks are super excited and want to come out to events. For our side, we have to make sure it goes through official channels. So if you are having an event and you are interested in having an FAA rep, send us an email with like an official invite, and we'll send it up through our side and see what we can do.
Great. Thank you so much, Alina.
Thank you, Diana.
We really are excited with this new concept, and we know it's going to be successful. And the big thing is, even if it's not at your school, we want you to come over and be part of it and set up and participate. All right, so moving on to the next slide. We have Zach Nicklin with us today. Zach, many of you know already, he's the point of contact for Northland Community and Technical College, and he's also co-principal for the National Center for Autonomous Technologies, the repository. They host the repository. And you may recall that during the UAS CTI meeting, the last one that we had, it could have been the consortium meeting because sometimes we have those as well, but I really thought it was the full CTI, that there was a need for UAS instructors. A couple were really concerned that they're having a hard time getting instructors. So Zach and I actually presented during last month's Drone Pro meeting, because those are those professionals that have expertise in UAS that are volunteers to the FAA safety team. And so Zach's going to share a little bit about a survey that they did for us. Zach?
Yeah, absolutely, and thanks, Diana. So yeah, as Diana said, she invited me to a Drone Pro meeting as one of the panelists there, and based on the feedback from you folks, you know, as Diana said, we had some issues finding folks. There was some programs that were worried about finding qualified teachers or people to come into the classroom and talk about what they do on a day-to-day basis, and so we thought that Drone Pro group, spread out across the United States, would be a great resource. And it turns out that we were right on that one. So there's about 250 fast team drone pros. That's roughly, that's not an exact count. And we had about 95 attend the webinar. And this would have been, I believe, February 16th at 6 p.m. Central Time. And of those 95 that attended the webinar, 55 actually responded to the survey we put out. Now, the survey had a lot of great questions to it, you know, as far as what their area of expertise was, what they're comfortable with as far as the technology, and whether or not they've had any prior teaching experience. And so of those 55 survey responses, 54 came back and said, yeah, you know, I'd be interested in looking into adjunct work in my area. Now, knowing that every state is different and a lot of the college systems is different as far as what the requirements were, you know, we let them know that, you know, we couldn't directly say whether or not that they were qualified to teach in all those systems. But what we decided to do is, we're going to take the information from those surveys. We are going to reach out to those folks and get some bios from them, and set it up kind of like if you've been on our NCAT site and you see our curriculum resources, how everything's got a card, and then you can click on that card on the page and it brings up more information. So the same type of thing. Further, we're going to try and integrate the Drone Pro map that the folks out at Palomar College have been so great keeping up to date, with some of that information as well. And the idea is that you'd be able to look for folks in your area or for folks with certain expertise to either be an adjunct, you know, do work at the school there, or just to come into the classroom, whether it's through Zoom or in person, and talk about their experience, talk about lessons learned and best practices and the different safety cases for the different industries. Of those 55 respondents to that survey, 51 already had prior teaching experience. So that's just absolutely great to see within those drone pros. And I'm not super surprised by that, because that is absolutely an outreach arm there of that FAST team. Further, you can see some of the other information we gathered from them, kind of their area of expertise and what kind of technology that they were working with. 52 of 55 said that they were interested in that guest speaking opportunity. So while it's not necessarily covering every state with the technology we have today with Zoom and things like that, I think really it will build a nice repository of resources for folks to reach out to. If you don't, say, for instance, have any experience in the gas and oil industry as it relates to UAS, getting someone to come in and talk about it when that module comes up within your classroom, who does it on a day-to-day basis is valuable. And we all know that as much as we like to think that how awesome we are as teachers, we know that a lot of our students kind of take the word of folks out in the industry sometimes before us. So having them there to reinforce your message, to reinforce the safety case, and the type of knowledge, skills, and abilities necessary to work within those industries, I think is going to be just a win all around. So, like I said, it's a bit of a work in progress. We don't have the map yet. We're working on getting those bios from the folks, and as soon as we have them, we'll absolutely put it up on the NCAT website and let everybody know exactly where they can find it.
Zach, Mark Bila, hi Mark, by the way, is asking if we have a list of those who are looking for instructors. And that is something that we discussed, and then being able to pair up and suggest who, but have that information available. So if you all are that person, yeah, please send a note to us. And we can start compiling a list of those of you who need instructors. And then as we build out the list for those that are willing to be adjunct and or guest speakers too, that was something that we had asked, that you maybe just want a guest speaker to come in, and we'll hopefully make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we're going to do some outreach once we have this set up to not just the CTI community asking, because a lot in the CTI community already have some of those resources or people filling those positions. But there's 942 community and technical colleges in the United States the last time I looked. And there's a lot of folks not on our CTI list. So using the National Science Foundation and some of the other networks that we have, we'll absolutely be pushing that out. And Mark, you have your hand raised there?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I usually have summers off, so I've got a few opportunities that I've been investigating and would be open to other ones that are out there.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And are you a drone pro as well?
I would say I'm a drone professional, but I'm a drone pro now.
Well, I mean, in that case, I've got to harass you a little bit and say that now's a great time to join and be a Fast Team Drone Pro as well.
It might
Well,
happen.
we do plan to, we will expand beyond. That was kind of our first group to reach out to. It just seemed perfect to be that bunch. But yeah, we'll actually reach out to others. So I think that's wonderful. What a great idea. And I see that David Mullins just posted that Mitchell Community College is looking for an instructor. So there you go. I'm really excited about this project. We always try to take your concerns and turn that into an action item and to try to satisfy that. So this is just that one more step. And thanks, Zach. All right, we'll move on to the next slide. All right, great. So today we actually have a guest presenter. Kyle, I don't know that I saw you on yet.
I'm here.
All right, yay. Hi, Kyle.
Hi.
So glad to have you with us.
Appreciate
He's
it.
actually our guest presenter. Kyle's the Director of Business Development at Census Technologies Corporation. It's an American aerospace company focused on aerial intelligence platforms and data tools. With an emphasis on beyond visual line of sight aircraft, Kyle has spent the last 5 years working with enterprise programs to scale operations toward commonplace BVLOS. That's our acronym for it. Flight through regulatory assistance, hardware compliance, and use case development. I'm a little familiar with Census because they actually flew at an event this past, I think it was early December, one of the first few over in St. Petersburg, Florida. But I'm really excited to hear that, organizations, including Census, are hiring now and require a workforce for UAS, especially regional workforce development. That's really kind of what we're all about. And I think Josh Olds was going to be with you today. I don't know if he got to make it or not. He's actually with Unmanned Safety Institute. He has helped. He's actually participated in a couple of our committees. And then Michelle Dina, who works with USI, has also, actually she and I have a kind of an constantly ongoing messaging back and forth. So Kyle, I think Zach has you queued up and ready to go, and thanks again.
Yeah, first of all, thanks Diana and especially Zach for even the opportunity to present. It's interesting that Census is in this kind of discussion because it was really driven by actually a need to help our customers hire pilots for the airplanes that they are purchasing. So we do go into a bit of a customer kind of map in one of these slides, but we'll start with the what, and that what being the actual aircraft itself. Go ahead, Zach. Sorry to make you use Canva instead of PowerPoint. It's a little easier.
No
So a bit of an organizational overview of who Census is and kind of what we do. I know that there's a lot of familiar names on just on this list of participants on this call today. We've either had calls or are starting to have some calls based on the exact needs that kind of we'll talk through during this presentation. But founded in 2017, our customers aren't just the only ones having hiring needs right now. We just hired about 20 folks in the last 6 months, and it's tough to find pilots, and our requirements are actually a little less stringent than some of our customers because we're willing to train them to a standard that we have. So Diana kind of did a good little introduction there. The big focus for Census has been enabling commercial BVLOS operations. That those commercial BVLOS operations range quite broadly with different industry clusters from you can say utilities, but that's a pretty broad brush to paint those groups with. Everything from water utilities to transportation to the more commonplace electric utilities and oil and gas. But the success rate on these BVLOS waivers has been a good one, which has kind of lent itself to some of the scale that these enterprise organizations are starting to get to. I don't want to make it sound like they're hiring 150 BVLOS pilots next month, but I think it's important to set some of the framework in place, especially regionally, to support some of these enterprise programs that some of them already have 160 pilots in their enterprise flying across the entire service territory. So that sort of scale is where BVLOS will go, and that's what we're planning for here. So we got 2 offices, headquarters here in Daytona. So here's the aircraft. It's a VTOL fixed wing, endurance about 120 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes, cruise speed of 45 miles an hour, deducing the range there, wind tolerances of 20 miles an hour with gusts up to 30. And we are in the US, like I said. One of the big components to make this system, quote unquote, BVLOS, it's not just, there's a few things that go into it, and it is certainly not a silver bullet type of aircraft. But our secret sauce when it came to this is the integration of that forward-facing detect and avoid. So that's mitigating error risk with that, as well as an ADS-B receiver on board the aircraft as well. So all of these companies that are starting BVLOS programs, or I should say scaling their inspection programs towards BVLOS, are leveraging this aircraft, which puts pressure on hiring for pilots to be trained to this aircraft. So, and then the payloads 10 plus kind of hits on the fact that the airframe has wide applicability in a lot of those different industry clusters that I mentioned. So you name it, it's probably either on the plane already as a payload option or can be done, minus some of the big 15-pound payloads. We can't do those. So this is what's interesting, and we have a couple of examples to describe this sort of thought process here. But when it comes to working with schools, we're a lot more than a UAS manufacturer because we're willing to do a lot more rather than just sell you guys equipment. We'll go into some of those on a couple of slides from now. So this is one of the pieces of the puzzle. So this is a secondary product that Census does manufacture here, also in in Florida, in Daytona. It's the mobile command centers, whether it be trailers or trucks. A lot of you folks probably already have one, not necessarily from us, but have some sort of ground control station that you operate from, whether it be a truck, trailer, van, you name it. But a lot of the value add here is the dual redundant ground control station with a lot of independent power supplies and a way to get the data link up to an altitude to maintain radio line of sight. So Not to mention the air conditioning, or for some of you guys, the heaters are much more important than the air conditioning, depending on location and time of year. But this is a very, very common piece of the system architecture for these BVLOS flights that are happening commercially, is some sort of robust GCS, whether it be truck, trailer, or van. So part of the package here, and something that definitely gets trained on from USI for our commercial customers, but also gets operated from our commercial customers after their training and ultimately out in the field. This just goes into some of the payload offerings. These are a handful of examples. Some of the things that we're working on kind of behind the curtain for additional payload integrations are a LiDAR. I've been unfortunately having to tell people for 4+ years now that we don't integrate LiDAR. That's hopefully changing here in the short term. There's a couple of options that have become available to us for integration, which should open up an even broader set of customers that then need pilots. So we're very, very payload agnostic, and have an attitude of being integrators onto the airframe to continue to allow that airframe to be used in the broadest amount of applications for the broadest amount of people and enterprise companies. So here's just a handful of customers throughout the US. A lot of these customers represent folks that are both actively hiring, and as BVLOS kind of explodes in the next 2-3 years, especially with some of the rulemaking and type certification starting to solidify with the recommendations being made out of the ARC last week or this week. These folks represent a very, very significant chunk of the United States in terms of where they need to operate. So American Water, Verizon, SoCal Edison. The biggest market for Census really is in utilities, but again, that's a pretty broad brush. So American Water and Transit are a lot different. They have a lot different need than SoCal Edison, but it all centers around some sort of inspection program. Either getting people to and from safely in transit, getting water to your tap reliably in American Water, or keeping the lights on with Southern California Edison. So again, this is just a bit of a snapshot of customers that really, really have a need to scale over the next 5 years and subsequently need a workforce, especially a regional one. So we do have a couple examples of this. I think it's the next slide, and sort of how that ties into the college. What does that even mean for the college? So these are some of the schools on the CTI that we're already actively working with, that have equipment sitting in their labs. Warren Community College is a great example of how that ties into regional workforce development throughout their state. So you saw 2 of those names on that list are New Jersey Transit and American Water. Well, American Water is one of those groups with 100+ pilots, and also 8 Centero pilots now, actively scaling their BVLOS inspection programs. And the goal is for a lot of these pilot needs to be filled from students coming right out of their backyard in Warren. Very, very applicable. The same thing can be said for efforts going on throughout Ohio with the Department of Transportation that we work with there, as well as American Electric Power. So the goal is for that workforce to stay or to be available to those enterprise companies via their backyard. So I wanted to kick it over and just ask President Austin from Warren one quick question, which basically was, why work with us? I figured it might make a little bit more, it might be a little more bang for the buck to hear it from Dr. Austin, who leads their president, but also leads their UAS program. Sort of what value do you see? Obviously, a ton of it's yet to be realized, but what value do you see in sort of the program that Census and USI are kind of offering and packaging up in partnership efforts?
Yeah, so I would say the first benefit is, and this is the biggest one you always worry about when you start a new program like this, is will people be able to find jobs? So the great news is all of our graduates now are in high demand from 3 of the companies that Kyle put up there. So it's great to know they have an option already before they even graduate. Some of them are being recruited before we've even trained them on the aircraft. So that's excellent. The other thing is we got the aircraft, and as a community college, we said, we don't want this thing sitting on a shelf ever. So it will also, the payload swapping is excellent. So we will swap out payloads when we're not training, and we'll put in multispectral, and our farmers will be trained to use this so we can improve crop production here. I was talking to our congressman about that today. When you look at what's going to happen in the Ukraine and Russia and the reduction of crops, those places like ours that are agricultural based need to improve their crop production quickly. We learned that during the pandemic. And the last thing, and we're working with somebody else on here from the FAA, one of my staff members is working to COA, our police and emergency services, so they will be able to use this for search and rescue, for fire, so this is an aircraft we see as a community aircraft that is stationed at the college.
Thank you, Dr. Austin. That's awesome to hear. Josh, you should be. I thought I saw your name earlier. You have a pretty extensive relationship with Gulf Coast State, also using the aircraft and kind of the joint partnership efforts here. You want to speak on them for a quick second?
Thanks, Kyle. Yeah, I'm hanging out here. So it's interesting because we work with many of the groups on here, and it's all about standardizing the workforce. And so you look at what Gulf Coast State College is doing. They've got emergency management projects using the Centero. They also have degree programs that are building pilots that can help support those emergency management projects. And so we're supporting them on both the degree side and also just the general commercial training activities that are happening in the Panhandle.
Yeah, I think that's a that's a big one because they have a considerable amount going on, and the school is a resource for local agencies, and kind of Dr. Austin hit that too. I guess it's been a few weeks since him and I spoke, but it sounds very analogous to what GCSC is looking at leveraging the system for, making that an available resource after the folks are trained in a community asset. That's a pretty cool way to think about it.
Yeah, actually, if you move into the next slides, it really goes into kind of this focus of, Unmanned Safety Institute has partnered with Census. We do all the commercial trainings, or a lot of the commercial trainings, on platforms for those clients. And what I think is interesting for this call is to look at the different industry clusters that they represent, because it's everything from GIS to water utility to electric utility, oil and gas, DOT. It's all of these different operational complexities that are presented. And what's, I think, unique about the different the learners, the students that are getting the training, is the different cultures. And we've talked about this for years inside of this industry. Is you have the hobbyist recreational culture, you have the DoD culture, the technologist culture, the aviation culture. And so you've got a lot of different backgrounds on ways of doing things, on ways of standardizing programs. And so where USI programs come into the mix is really helping standardize the pilot corps. We work with many of you on this call today with educational programs, whether it be through feeders, whether you're using the curriculum programs or just using the certifications. But it's about empowering regional workforce development. It's about developing a standard that's driven through aviation insurance. It's about risk management at different levels of complexity. And so for the purposes of today's call, it's really just focusing on, there's a student population out there. They're all focused on UAS. A lot of them are getting the remote pilot certs in secondary education. Many states have programs that lead into safety level 1 and maybe even some stage 1 skill set development. What's really important is the feeders into the collegiate entities that are doing more stage 2, more complex trainings, because that's really that high skill, high wage career field. So if we move into the next slide, I believe the next structure is the stage 1 and stage 2. And what's important about this is going back to these different cultures that we have within the industry. USI exists to really establish standards around risk management for organizations. It's all about reducing that liability and creating a shared mental model in terms of aviation operations. And so as we move into a stage 2, we really utilize the Centero platform as our Cessna 172. So for those of you familiar with aviation schools, that's a great training platform. It's reliable. It's great to conduct training on because you scale from there. It's got transferable skill sets. And so at a stage 2 level, this is complex ops. This is aircraft 20 pounds to 1,320. It's group 2, group 3 aircraft. but it's focusing more on automation management, complex operations. So you're taking on human factors, aeronautical decision-making, safety management systems. You're deploying a lot more complex operational processes and procedures because of the increased risk. The psychomotor skills are still important from an emergency and abnormal perspective, but now it's really moving into an automation management. And so as a big part of this program and what we've partnered with Census on is being able to empower local regional colleges across the country to drive education into regional workforce development that helps standardize what we know is coming with the BVLOS operations, hopefully sooner than later, in a more compliance-based approach. But it's really establishing those standards so that students have a direct workforce pipeline that's relevant. It's based on industry certification and degree that they can plug right into these companies, these different industry clusters deploying Centero platforms across the U.S.
And I think one thing that was shocking to me the first time I heard it and was the amount of high schools throughout the U.S. that can directly feed in. You know, Josh says feeders. Well, I didn't know what that meant at first, but over 40 over 40 states have high schools that offer these programs from a stage 1 standpoint. And those feed directly into universities and community colleges that are offering stage 1 and stage 2. So creating those pathways from the high school to the post-secondary and secondary education is ultimately critical to creating that standardized workforce that Josh described.
And that's done many ways. So, you know, there's schools done through articulated. So if somebody gets an industry certification and a college can articulate that into their degree program. And so they do not have to be using our programs. In fact, curriculum is not required to earn certification. They're two separate categories, but articulated credit. And many of the schools are running concurrent or dual enrollment style programs where these students, their career focus, their pathway is the uncrewed industry, uncrewed aircraft systems. That is their focus. That's why they're in class, and it's specific to an industry cluster. So it could be a lineman CT program in Michigan offering a stage 1 program as part of their educational program for that specific use case for utility inspections, or it could be an agricultural program that's focusing on BVLOS operations or renewable energy, even into that stage 2 program. So it's very much specific to the scenario. What this program is providing is that overarching, kind of foundation of safety that's focused on that Centero platform for BVLOS ops.
Yep. So thanks, Josh, for joining. I mean, I think that was, you said it better than I could for sure. As we start to, again, the need to work with schools came out of exactly that, a need, as our customers are trying to hire people. So as I go to help them, this was a natural evolution for us to get kind of involved. And we're actually going to be at AUVSI this year. We'll be in a booth, kind of, I think it's right in the front actually, with USI. We're splitting that booth. So, and then subsequently right after that, we'll have our CTO and our regulatory affairs director are going to be attending the UAS Faa Symposium. So it's also right there in Orlando, I think. So like I said, we're in Daytona, so we're 45 minutes from there. Yeah. Definitely, if you guys either have questions either now or in the interim, definitely feel free to reach out. But we'll also be at AUVSI, so we look forward to fielding some of those questions or meeting you guys in person there.
That'll be great. And we hope to, like I said, have an evening where we can all meet up, have dinner together, and would love to see you all in person and meet you. So thanks, Josh. Thanks, Dr. Austin, for joining in. But Kyle, especially good presentation. We really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you, Diana. And again, Zach, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely, Kyle. Thank you very much for being a part of it, and Josh as well. And I'll actually be stopping by your booth in April there.
You won't miss it. It's the trailer with a big USI logo. You won't miss it.
All right. So to kind of wind down the day, we're going to finish with, we actually have, I also want to say that we invited a few of the Assure school partners and affiliates I forgot to give an extra welcome at the beginning, but we really appreciate that you joined us today as well. This also gives me the opportunity to recruit you to the CTI program. So don't think you don't qualify, you might, and just send me a message. But we are now, I invited Dave Baer to join us. Dave is a big reason that I'm with the FAA. So if you have any complaints, he's the guy to go to. But he works on the FAA safety side of things and has been working diligently to update training courses and provide new ones for all of us to use. And David, just quickly, if you will tell the group about what you're doing, and then those that can hang around, we will have time for just to talk and ask questions and make any final comments.
Absolutely. Thanks, Diana and Alina. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And thanks to everybody who's on this call. Oh my goodness, I am just so excited as a Part 107 pilot myself. What you folks are doing is amazing. And I just want to say thank you for that. And a quick shout out to Kurt Caraway at K-State University. I got to work with Kurt and his team for 3 years during the Integration Pilot Program, or IPP. Spent a lot of time in Manhattan, Kansas. Had a great time with that. So what you guys are doing is just just awesome. So yeah, just real briefly, and I'll put my contact information, email, and phone number. Feel free to call me anytime. I'm the online course POC for the National FAST team in Washington. I'm located in sunny Florida, so I get to fly my drone, my DJI Air 2S, just about 365 days a year. It's pretty awesome. And as Diana said, we are going through a huge several-year project, basically revamping our online courses on FAAsafety.gov. One of the focus areas is more UAS courses. And anyone interested in participating in that as a course author, boy, would I love to talk to you folks, because you guys are the boots on the ground and the experts. So it's 5:30, Diana, so I'll throw it back to you. Thanks for the opportunity. And I'll stick around as long as you want.
Wow, Dave, that was quick. Yeah, so FAST, it's FAAsafety.gov is where you can go and actually find some of the courses that he's talking about. And we're always willing to hear, or we take your advice on how we can improve, right? So now go ahead, Zach, if you want to, you can stop sharing the presentation and just turn on your mics. We'll just spend a couple minutes or a few minutes with questions and comments. We've captured the chat. We are going to push out information. Those of you that have so graciously offered to host a regional event. Again, we're not the ones that decide that, but we can certainly send it to the ones that are. Any questions or comments? Future meetings, anybody you'd like to see, or new action items? We've been trying to knock those out as we go. No, it's been a good meeting, a lot of information.
I actually would love to jump in for just a second. I've gotten a couple of questions about the FAA Symposium. So Symposium is going to be April 28th in Orlando. So it's going to happen concurrently with Exponential. And there is a website. I just put it in the chat a little bit ago. It is a separate event. So there is a separate registration and price for it. But you can see all of that if you go to the website and then click on register. So all that information will be there.
Thank you, Alina. That's important to know. I know people have even asked if we get a discount if we're attending one and then go to the other, and we try, but I don't know. I don't know that they're going to offer a package deal.
So I do have to say, though, while you have a student discount, you don't have an educator discount there, and I know that's not necessarily, you know, your lane there, but just throwing it out there.
Good feedback. I can definitely give that to the symposium team.
Yes, questions, comments, anyone?
This is Sam Fisher, FSCJ. I'm just way back when we first started this, you guys had somebody from Drone Racing League on, and I'm looking for a point of contact, but I can't find the recording or anything from way back then. So if anybody has a POC for Drone Racing League, I'd be interested in talking with them.
If I recall correctly, I believe that was Ken Yano, and oh gosh, I forgot his college off the top of my head, but he's out in California there. Ken, are you here today? No. If you're at the consortium meeting next week, Ken is typically there.
Zach, this is Chris Cruz. I had the contact with DRL.
Oh, there you go.
So just, I'll drop my email in the chat and I can talk directly.
That'll work. Thank you, sir.
Others?
This is a much quieter group than consortium.
I felt like we really hit the topics hard and got a lot of information pushed out, and they don't have questions. So we covered it all, right?
We're like super on time today. So
yeah, that too. All right. Well, this was recorded. If you want to go back and watch it, and then we will send it out to those that couldn't be here today. And thanks again, not only for participating, but for offering to host and get involved. We want you all to participate on Drone Safety Day in some form or fashion. That would be great. And that can be in your area, you know, hosting your own event. And then we'll let everyone know. Actually, you'll sign up on the site once we have the site going live.